Hey everybody, today I'm making a double-sided art journal spread with an acrylic and stencil background. I have primed the pages with a layer of gesso, white gesso, before I go on top with the acrylic paints. I let the gesso dry completely. The art journal I'm working in is the one from the Action Store, which is only available in Europe. And it has a wonderful format and I really love it, and I used it a lot over the past weeks. I'm using the Amsterdam acrylics and I'm just playing quite intuitively with the green, yellowish green, I believe, olive yellow light, or it's olive yellow light, I think, and some kind of a turquoisey color. I will write the names of the colors in the description because I can't exactly remember. This is the sap green from Schminke, one of my favorite colors. It's such a beautiful green. Yeah, it's really beautiful. I also love it for jelly printing as it's super transparent. I'm using a big brush and I'm just smearing the paints around because we will add a lot more layers, and it's not that important how this is turning out. It's just important to have some paints on the background. I come back in with that light olive yellow, olive green, and I make some marks just to bring in some more contrast. This has to be completely dry before we come back for the next step, and I let this dry overnight. I'm now going on top with white acrylic paint. I'm using the Schminke Prime Acryl, but you can use any acrylic paint. I prefer this one here because it's very high quality and super opaque, and it will not be transparent on top of that green background, and that's what I wanted to have. I'm covering up most of the background with the white paint. I'll leave some of the green around on the edges. I will now dry this layer of paint just a little bit, not much, just the top of the paint, so that I can lay a stencil on top without ruining the white. But I will not dry it completely because then I will not be able to remove some of this paint. So it's something you have to experiment a little bit with, and you will always get different results. But that's what I really like with this technique. It always turns out a bit different. You can see it's a little bit shiny, but not as wet as in the beginning. I'm starting on the right side because it's a little bit drier than the left. And I'm going in with a baby wipe through the stencil and I'm removing the white paint. You have to rub quite hard to remove the paint. And that's the reason why I also added a gesso to the paper. Because if you don't add gesso, and if you have maybe a thin layer of acrylic paint underneath, it will wipe away the whole paper. So it's important to have it prepared quite well with the gesso, and I would also recommend to add a thick layer of acrylic paint underneath the white layer. And now you have to work a little bit quickly so your paint does not dry, because once it's dry, you will not be able to remove anything. I'm cleaning the edges a bit and yeah, I get rid of the milky wetness of that white removed layer, if that makes sense. And I will also dry the stencil with a kitchen roll so that I can use it on the left side of my double spread. And here you can see why it's important that the first layer is 100% dry, because you have to rub quite hard. And then if the green was not dry completely, I would wipe the green away. The paint is almost dry and it's getting harder to remove it, so I decided I will leave it as it is, let this dry again from the wetness of the baby wipes. And here I'm coming back in with more stenciling and some green. I'm not 100% sure which green this is, but I think it's one from Amsterdam. And I'm just stenciling with a makeup brush on top of my spread. This brings in another layer of texture, and I really love that this pattern goes with the smaller pattern. It's quite a lovely pairing, I would say. I let this dry as well before I come back in with some mark making, and that's a really fun part of the process. I'm using pencils and Neocolors, and I just make some scribbly lines and marks all over my page. What I want to do with this spread is I want to go in with some reddish and pinkish colors because it's a complementary against the green. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to stamp some texture with black. So I have kind of a contrasting spread, which means I have black and white and green and red in the end, and that's, I think, a really interesting color combination. I'm using stamps from Mix It Up 1 to create some texture on the background. I'm laying a piece of foam underneath my page that makes it much easier to stamp. I'm happy with the background. I will now go in with more mark makings using pinkish colors, and I'm using the Neocolor crayons. I'm done with my mark making, and I'm going in with some thinned down white acrylic paint. You can use acrylic ink, of course, as well. And I'm making some splatters over the page. I think that brings in another texture, and it matches the whole spread with the white that is already going on. Whilst the white paint is drying, I'm preparing a sentiment for the spread on a piece of old paper, and I also have searched for some collage bits and pieces in the meantime. And I'm now going to adhere those to the page. I picked some colors from my stash which were matching the whole spread, and I just tore some pieces, and now I'm adhering them to the right corner of the double spread. I want to use these botanical elements as my focal points. There is a video tutorial on my channel on how I make these with the stencils, and I will try not to forget to link that up underneath as well, or in the info cards. To balance everything out, I wanted to bring in some collage to the left side, and I just will adhere this piece to the top left. It matches the colors of the focal area that I've just created on the right. I'm cutting out my words, and I want to adhere them to the left side of the spread. And I just adhered a little bit of that same paper to the right, just to make everything cohesive. I thought about adhering the words, but then I decided I need some more mark makings that give me a cohesive look and add some more interest to the page. And I'm going to use the Posca paint pens. At first I thought I will go in with the Neo colors again, but then I decided to use the Posca pens. I think because that Neo color was not exactly matching the turquoise of my collage papers, and that was where I decided to use the Posca pens, because the turquoise of them is a bit better, I think. And I'm also picking that apricot color, which is perfect together with the botanicals on the page. Whilst I did the mark making, I decided that the words I prepared are not the right for this page. So I decided to stamp those again to a piece of jelly print that matches the whole spread and that is more bold than that vintagey paper. And then I adhered these to the left side, and I think that was definitely the right decision. Yes, and here is my finished spread. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you will see us next time. Bye!